Hi everyone, I'm Paul with MadCap Software. This video, we're going to focus on file reviews between MadCap Flare and MadCap Central. There is another option, which is sending reviews between Flare and MadCap Contributor. The difference is that's a desktop operation, so everything's on the desktop locally. But this process between MadCap Flare and Central's up on the cloud. So it's just a little bit different. It's actually a really, really good process. And this video is from the author's perspective. So we're going to concentrate on what the author's doing in Flare, getting the files together to send for review, sending them out. Then once they're reviewed, bringing them back in to Flare. There's another video that I have on the subject matter expert or the reviewer's perspective. And so that really focuses on Central, what's going on up there in the cloud when they're doing their thing. And so you can actually watch that video too. It's in the playlist at the end of this video. Go ahead and watch that if you want. All right, so there are some definite benefits to this process of using Flare and Central. One is because this is up in the cloud, you can have multiple people reviewing your files all at the same time. They're not stepping on each other, and you don't have to untangle anything. It just makes it a lot more streamlined. Another thing that makes it streamlined is automatic notifications. So you send things out for review, people who you want to review, they're getting notified, and then they just click something and they go where they need to review it. And once they're all done, then you get notified. So it just kind of keeps things moving. The editor up in MadCap Central is simplified. So it makes it easy for reviewers to just focus on what they need to focus on, which is adding content, changing content, inserting annotations or comments, and getting this back to you. And finally, this process supports source control branching for Git, because the connection between Flare and Central is using Git. And so if you're not sure what branches are, they're really great. And it's ideal for sending things out for review because it allows you to keep the things that are in development separate from the things that are finished, ready to go. Now, if you want to know more about branching, I would suggest that you go watch the Flare video series on source control. So there's lots of videos in there, and 4 of them are on branching alone, and it will explain all of that to you. So what we're going to cover in this video, we've just got really 2 basic sections. One, we're going to talk about the part of the process where the Flare author is just kind of going out, gathering up what they want to send for review and sending that out to people. And then the second part is once all the reviewers are done, the Flare author bringing it back in and dealing with those changes. So that's what we're going to do. Let's get started. So you're a Flare author, you're ready to send some files, topics, and maybe even snippets out to some reviewers. Let's go into Flare and do it. All right, so I have a little project here that is bound to MadCap Central. And you can see I'm logged in and there's all the information. It is bound. The other thing is I'm using branching in this, okay? So if I go to the Source Control Explorer, which you can get to from here, and I go look at branches, you can see I have several in here. I've got feature 1, feature 2, feature 3, master, and release. If you're not using branching, it's just master, okay? But again, I suggest that you use branching. It's really going to help you out a lot. So first thing that you need to do is make sure that you're on the right branch. And so if you're using multiple branches, and you know it because you look over here in the Source Control Explorer, current, I'm on the feature 2 branch, all right? And down here, you can see I'm also on the feature 2 branch. It's just another place to see it down here. And so this is the branch that I want. If I wasn't, I would just go and select one of the other branches. And so the files will be based on that branch. Okay. Now, there are actually multiple ways Oh, before I continue, the next thing that you need to do is make sure that your files are synchronized with Central. Have you made commits for all of your changes and synchronized? And if I look down here in the lower right, the status bar that I have, you can see the number 1 here. That means I've got a pending change that I need to deal with. Now, if I forgot to do this, if I forgot to synchronize and I get to the point where I'm sending things out for review, Flare will remind me. It'll say, hey, you still have some stuff you got to deal with. And then you can, it'll let you deal with it right there. But I'm going to go ahead and click this and say added content. Usually I get more descriptive in my commits, but just going to keep it simple in this video. I've done that. And now this button is going to let me sync it. So I am just going to be pulling files, pulling changes that are up on Central down locally. And then as soon as it's done looking at that, there isn't anything up there that's different. And then it's going to push. It's going to push these things up to Central. So this is going to get me in sync so that I can send these things up here for review. Now, there are some different ways to send things for review. Let's see. So one is you can simply open up a topic from the Content Explorer. I've got this one open right here, Austin City Limits. And then I go to Review and I click Send for Review. And it's going to open up this dialog here. And this is what, or kind of it's actually a wizard. And I am going to use this to go through and send things. All right, so that'll get you started. You can do it that way. Maybe you're thinking, oh, and by the way, when you do that, you can see what it's doing is it's saying, oh, okay, you had this topic open and there was also a snippet in there. And so I'm going to include that unless you tell me otherwise. But you can also add more things by using this button. You can remove things, like if you don't want to send certain snippets, you can remove them like that. Another way to add multiple things at once is to use split view in the Content Explorer. So you click this button. It's going to have your folders on the left, and it is going to have your the contents within it on the right. So if I select, if I switch between these, you can see this side changes. But I can just go in here and I could use my Shift key to select a bunch of things, or hold down my Control key and select different things, and then select Send for Review. Opens up the same thing, but now you see there's lots of stuff in there. Another way to send lots of things at the same time is to use your file list window pane. So View, File List, and it's the same thing. It's going to list all this stuff here. I have it filtered to just show topic files, so you can change your filter in there. And then again, hold down your Shift key, your Control key, whatever, and then click, then go to Review, Send for Review. All right, that is another way. The final way that you can do it is to do it from the TOC. Okay, so I can actually right click in this topic and tell me what TOCs I've got. All right, so this topic is in a couple of TOCs. I'm going to open this one, the online TOC. And so you can actually do something like this. You could send a whole section. Like I've got this music book in here and then a couple of topic links underneath it. I could right click music and select Send for Review. It'll open this up and it includes that linked topic, the music one, plus the other ones below it, plus the snippets that are in it. All right, so just a few options that you have. Okay, so from this point, what you do is you look at this and you go, okay, is this everything that I want? Do I want to add more? Do I want to delete any? Now, when it comes to snippets, you can see there's a couple of snippets in here. So those can be part of the review process too. And so in Central, the reviewer can open those snippets up separately. They're not going to be able to, just like in Flare, you can't click in the topic and edit them there. They're separate files. So you can include them in the file review process and they can edit them independently. But maybe you have certain snippets that you don't want to include. So if you've got a snippet that's got a lot of content in it, steps and images, and just it's a big block snippet, maybe you want to include that. But maybe you've got another snippet. For example, in my case, I've got at the end of procedures, I've got a snippet that just tells people what to do to save their files. And I probably wouldn't include that in a file review because there's no need for reviewers to be looking at that little thing. But the other snippets I might want them to look at. So let's say that I don't want to include a snippet. I'll just select it in here and click that. And that way, so the content will still show up they'll still see that content in the topic where it's inserted in Central. It's just that they can't open that snippet separately. What they would you'd have them do, you can just tell them, look, if there are any snippets in here that I haven't included, you can tell them to insert a comment, an annotation above it or below it, something like that if they want to tell you something about that content. All right, so we've got our things we're going to send for review. And now down below, it automatically has send to MadCap Central selected. That's what we want. You don't want to switch to this one. This is going to use the MadCap contributor process, but we're using Central, so we're going to select that. I'm going to click next. This is the point where if you hadn't synchronized your stuff, it would tell you to do that. All right, so I've got all these people in here. Some of these people are on the license, on the MadCap Central license. They're subject matter experts. That's the kind of user they are. Some of them are authors. So you can send things not just to subject matter experts, but to other authors as well. The only ones that you can't send it to are viewers. If you've got viewers in your on your license, you're not going to be able to send them things for review. All right, so let's go in here and let's select Jeff Lebowski. He's an author. And then let's go down here, Marge Gunderson and Ella Fitzgerald. Those are both subject matter experts. I'm going to send this to them for review. So I just click send. It says they've been sent. Click OK. So those three people will get email notifications, and then they will click the link in there, and they will go and do whatever they need to do. Now, one final thing before we move on to the next section. What if you've sent these things for review and then you think, oh, I still need to do some work in them. There was something I forgot to do. Well, I would avoid making that change. Let's say like this South by Southwest topic right here. Let's open that up. And you decide, I need to make a change in here. Well, this is telling you, hey, this thing's already been sent for review. It's probably better not to make your change in here, because then you're going to have to deal with conflicts when these things get sent back to you. It's probably best to go into Central and just make your changes in the editor there along with your reviewers. So you can go back to your MadCap Central window pane, click here to go up to Central. And then once you're up in Central, you can click on reviews. Now, you're the author. You originally sent this. So you've got these different tabs in here. And pending means these are files that somebody else sent to you to review. This isn't the stuff that you sent. If you want to see that, you click this. You click in sent. And these are things that you've sent to other people for review. You can see the most recent ones are here. All right. And then there's older ones that were sent down below. And so if you want to go in and you think, oh, I need to make a change. Okay, go into that topic in here, South by Southwest, and it loads in here and you can see, yep, I'm the original author. These are my subject matter experts, Jeff Lebowski, who's an author, and these two down here who are SMEs. And I can just go in here and here's content I forgot to add. All right, so you've just done your thing and you don't have to do anything else. It automatically saves it. So you've sent out reviews to 3 different people, and once they've all submitted it, they're all done with all the files, you get an email notification. It'll look something like this, just says a review's been completed by all reviewers, and you can click on this and it takes you up to Central. So you can look and see once one of those files is selected, you can see, okay, all of them have completed this. So what do? You go back into your Flare project. Now you got to deal with their changes. The first thing that you should do is make sure you're on the right branch. So if you're using branching, you got to you want to switch to that one so that you're bringing it back in to the right place. So if you can't remember, oh, what branch was that? Go to the review ribbon, select file reviews, and it lists these in here. Okay, and just expand that a little bit, and you can see each file, and it tells you what branch they're on. So if I look down in the right-hand corner, I see, oh, I'm on feature 1. I should switch to feature 2. Cool. All right, so I'm on the right branch, and all of those came from feature 2. So now I just need to go through each one and close out the review process and deal with each one of these. So just start at the top. This one is a snippet. I'm going to double click that, and it lets you know, hey, you're closing the review process. People can't change anything, can't change anything anymore up on Central. And you go, cool, that's what I want. Click OK. It opens it up in here, and now you can deal with those changes. So what you're doing is you're looking through this, and you can see the changes right here, and they're all tracked. This just one, and it's just nonsense that I typed. You can right click on each thing and either accept it or reject it. That goes for both changes and annotations, comments. All right, so in this case, I go, wow, that's gibberish. I'm going to reject that. Okay, and then what you do is you save, and then you click this little button right here, accept the file. That accepts that file back into the Flare project. It replaces the old one, although there was only one change and I rejected it, so it's going to be the same in this case. Then the file reviews window pane refreshes, and it removes that one. Okay, I'm done with that. Now I can go on to the next one. And again, it lets me know you're closing this thing out, and I say, great. It opens it up. Now I've got more changes in here, and you can see the different colors represent the different people, all the things that they've changed. And again, I can go through, there's an annotation. I could leave the annotation in there if I want, or I could just get rid of it if I've read it and I've dealt with it, and I could accept that. All right, so you go through and you can see they've made all kinds of changes in here. And this is not completed at all because I was just typing nonsense. But let's say that you didn't want to go through each one of these. You've read it and you go, yeah, all this stuff looks good. I could just really just decide to accept everything or reject everything like that from these buttons up here. And let's just accept all changes, even though some of that stuff is weird in there. And let's say, okay, now this one's all done. Click save and accept it back into the project. So that replaces the original file. And you just go through each one of these just like that until you're all done. And in here, maybe I could reject all the changes, just the opposite, like that. Okay, and save it. Even though I rejected all the changes and it's going to be the same file, I still need to go through the process of saving and then accepting it back in. And here's the final one. Okay, even though it's gibberish, I'm just going to accept that one, save and accept it, and it's all good. And now if I go back to those files, you can see that the new stuff is in there. And then back in Central, if you were to go back in there, you would see all of these things. Since you've dealt with it, you've closed out the review process, all of that will be moved into the archived section. One final thing, if you do happen to have a long list of files in here and you just need to find something, you can use this filters feature in here. You can just type, let's just look for Austin in here. And so it applies that filter and it gets rid of everything else. There's my filter right there. And if I want to clear that, just click the X and it goes back the way it was. So that's the Flare Central review process. Just gather up whatever you're going to send out to people, decide what you want to do about those snippets, make sure you're on the right branch, both when you send things out, bring things in, and you should be just good to go. Thanks for watching this video. We'll talk to you next time.